vielleicht nicht mehr. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, friends, fellow explorers. As you can see, I'm writing down. It's taking a few, but not too long. It is a special pleasure and a privilege to welcome you here to this evening at the Austrian Space Forum. One of the moments we treasure most in this year, the presentation of the Polarsternpreis, the Polar Star Award that we give out every year. It is our Guiding Star Award for exceptional achievements in space exploration and science. The Polar Star, steadfast in the night sky, has guided travelers for centuries. Tonight, it stands for clarity of vision that guides us in science, for those rare individuals whose light helps others find their direction, and who guide us in our path into the future. Tonight, our Polar Star is personified in the person of Dr. Rudolf Albrecht. And I will let you know a bit more about his remarkable career, which represents a rare synthesis of scientific excellence, visionary leadership, and international cooperation. Born in Vienna in 1946, not the easiest of time at this time. He earned his PhD in astrophysics at the University of Vienna in 1970s, just as the humanity was taking its first steps onto the moon. A very exciting time at this time. While others were looking upwards, Uli was already building the instruments and software that would let us truly understand what we are seeing. Because many are looking, but not that many understand what they are seeing. From the early 70s onward, his fingerprints can be found on nearly every significant discovery, development in astronomical data processing. At the Lowell Observatory in the United States, he co-developed one of the very first computerized data acquisition system in astronomy. Today, in an age of technology, that's like, everything done. Back then, there was nothing like the computers we have today. It was the first, and it was revolutionary for its time. At the Cerro Tololo, Inter-American Observatory in Chile, South America now being known as the location of some of the most advanced telescopes humanity can offer. And back at the University of Vienna, he helped create one of the first image processing systems for astronomy. Is it called now Tololo Vienna Reduction System, which became a foundation for decades of optical astronomy ever since. In 1981, you crossed again from from Vienna, the Atlantic. You went to Baltimore, to the Johns Hopkins University, and the Hubble Space Telescope Science Institute. He played a central role in the planning and development of the Hubble Space Telescope Science Data Analysis System, the digital heart of one of humanity's greatest scientific instruments. It would be difficult to imagine the now famous Hubble and its unprecedented international recognition and fame without his work. But he also helped design the collaboration between ESA and NASA. That partnership was not just about technology, it was about trust. And as always, Uli is one of the people who made that trust possible, who made people trust each other and work together. Robert Williams, former director of the Space Telescope Science Institute and later president of the International Astronomical Union, recalled that Uli was a leader and crucial manager in the Hubble program, creating an efficient group of ESA and NASA scientists that together produced discoveries of lasting importance. So who better to describe someone than in the words of their peers? Uli's story, however, is not only of software and stars. It is a story of bridges between continents, disciplines, and even between the technical and the political side, which is a rare thing. After returning to Europe, he became head of the ESA-ESO Space Telescope European Coordinating Facility in Munich. And later, to our great benefit, he rerouted himself in Austria, joining the Austrian Space Forum, first as a board member and now as senior advisor and, if I may say so, mentor for many of us. As a technical expert and representative of Austria itself, the European Astronomical Society and the International Astronomical Union at the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, also called COPUS. He helped shape the scientific and technical work that underpins today's international space policy. Once again, from data scientist to the space policy. He served on the Space Mission Planning Advisory Group, also on the UN Working Group on Dark and Quiet Skies, and organized panels preparing the, among many other things, International Year of Asteroid Awareness and Planetary Defense in 2029, which is one of a long series of panels and conferences you organized and initiated. These are not merely committees. They are humanity's collective attempt to ensure that we continue exploring space responsibly and safely. And Rudi's voice has been one of reason, knowledge, and imagination in all of these committees and groups. Arti Holla-Mainini, I hope I say it correctly, Director of United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, recently wrote, Mr. Rudi Albrecht has been a dedicated supporter of the Dark and Quiet Skies initiative, contributing his expertise and resourcefulness to advance its objectives. Through his efforts, participants, especially from the Global South, will be able to attend, strengthening the initiative's inclusivity and global impact. That sentence captures something essential about him. His science is never abstract. It is always in the service of people, whether helping astronomers reduce data or helping nations cooperate in protecting the sky. He ensures that knowledge is shared and that everyone has a seat at the table. His influence is not limited to technical excellence. It extends to the human side of science. His peers praise him for serving as a mentor and inspiration for so many others. A man whose space network is unmatched. And as David Schumann, with his NASA background, said, he is one of those very special scientists that recognize also the value of lawyers. Indeed, unmatched is the right word. Few scientists have such a web of trust and friendship across the international space community. You are not being introduced to other people, they are being introduced to you, as we have seen countless times. He has been an enabler, a bridge between worlds that rarely intersect. The scientists and the diplomat, the technical experts and the seasoned administrator. A man who leads and inspires others to follow. Sara Lucatello, president of the European Astronomical Society, perhaps put it best. Rudi was instrumental in securing the EAS admission to COPUS as a permanent observer. And he has been a tireless advocate for protecting the dark and quiet sky in international fora. His contributions have been precious. This recognition today is truly well deserved, and I really second that statement. Of course, what makes Rudi truly memorable is not only what he did, but how he thinks. He once said, with a familiar combination of realism and curiosity, we have to accept the fact that our brains are not anywhere good enough to ever understand the universe. But it does not mean that we should not try. There is a lot of collateral knowledge to be gained in the attempt. Besides, it's fun, in your own words. That sentence is modest, profound, and funny all at once. It reminds us that the pursuit of understanding, even when it seems hopelessly beyond reach, is not a futile act, but one of joy. It also hints at something essential about him. Rudi does not science out of duty, but out of delight. He's one of those rare people who can discuss algorithms with the same enthusiasm as skydiving, or as historic a 19th century clock to perfect rhythm, as you heard outside. That's exactly the donation we got. And knowing Rudi, the clock probably keeps time better than most satellites. Another one of his remarks ties cosmic perspective back to earthly responsibility. The universe could not care less about what we do on Earth, but it should be in our own interest to take good care of it. A lot of people seem to have forgotten this these days. From a man who spends his life studying the heavens, this is a profoundly human statement, a reminder that the stewardship of our own planet is both a moral and a scientific imperative. It is easy when listing up his professional titles, professor, director, representative, advisor, mentor, to forget that behind them is a man of astonishing energy and range. Over 6,000 skydives, more than 100 marathons, and number is still growing. Balloon pilot, powerboat Kübelwagen driver, a restorer of antique clocks and classic cars. These are not mere hobbies. They are expressions of the same restless curiosity that has defined also his scientific career. Each pursuit, in its own way, is about precision and freedom to do things. The calculation of a trajectory, the thrill of a descent, the patience of craftsmanship. It's no surprise that a person who has spent decades aligning telescopes and calibrating data systems also finds joy in aligning gears and pendulums. The Polarsternpreis, as we know, celebrates those who bring direction, initiative, inspiration to the European space community. It is not reserved for those with the biggest budgets or the largest missions. Rather, it honors those individuals whose vision lights the way for others. The guiding star who leads by example, by creativity, and by persistence. In this sense, Rudi Albrecht embodies the spirit of the polar star perfectly. Throughout his career, he has shown us that progress in space exploration is not the work of one nation or one generation. It is a symphony of many talents harmonized by a shared purpose. Rudi has shown that science and diplomacy are not separate pursuits, but two sides of the same quest for understanding. He has guided countless others, many here in this room, not through orders, but through encouragement, not by insisting, but by inspiring. Dr. Ulpia Elena Potesatsu, chair of the UN Scientific and Technical Subcommittee, summarized it beautifully. These awards stand as a fitting tribute to his enduring commitment and visionary contributions to international space cooperation. Recognition earned through decades of tireless service, inspiration, and belief in the power of science to unite and safeguard humanity. Rudi, today we honor not only what you have achieved, but also what you continue to represent. Curiosity without arrogance, ambition without vanity, a lifelong belief that science can be both precise and joyful. Like the polar star, you have been a constant for us, a fixed point by which others can navigate. Through your work, your generosity, and your spirit, you help countless colleagues find their bearing. So on behalf of the Austrian Space Forum and on behalf of your many friends and colleagues here and around the world, also see this afterwards, it is my great privilege to present you with the Polar Award 2025. May your light continue to guide us steadily, brilliantly, and yes, with a touch of witty humor. Through the ever-expanding universe, we all strive to understand. Congratulations, Rudy. Good.
Here is you. Thank you. And congratulations.
Yep.
You want to show it to the other? I can take it out as well. It's easy to clean, so.
Be careful,
Yes.
otherwise.
Well, yeah. Yeah. It's full glass. We can actually take it out for now and maybe put it on
Yeah,
a
you
stand.
take it out.
We go home with the box. We can put the box here.
Actually, if you hold it instead.
Okay.
It's translucent.
Yeah, I need to take pictures later.
Yeah.
Here, like with the logo and. It's a self.
Maybe I can ask you to give a few words to the audience.
I'll be happy to. You know, when Willie called me up a couple of weeks ago and told me that I was going to be the recipient of the Austrian Space Award, my initial reaction was, don't bother. It's not going to increase my motivation. I don't need the prize to increase my motivation. And he told me that it shouldn't be about increasing my motivation. It should be about rewarding me for work done in the past and now, in the present, and support given back and the present. You know, when some of you know that I used to work for ESA. We will say ESA has mandatory retirement, so they kick people out at age 62, and obviously that was too early for me to just solve crossword puzzles and play Sudoku. And so when I came back to Austria, I linked up with two organizations. One was the United Nations. I had reported to the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space on behalf of ESA several times, and had known the then director of UNOSA, Sergio Camacho. And so when I came back, I contacted him. He was at that point not the director any longer, was in the Mexican delegation. And he invited me to the asteroid group, which still exists, and it's called Same Page Space Mission Planning Advisory Group. I've been on that team ever since. And the other organization that I linked up with was the Austrian Space Forum, or Österreichische Weltraumpreis. And the reason why I linked up with the Austrian Space Forum was that the Austrian Space Forum is doing those things that I wish somebody would have done when I was young. You know, I grew up in post-war Vienna, and it was a dull and grey city, less light, so more stars. But other than that, science was not very high on the agenda back then. Back then, high on the agenda was surviving, rebuilding the city, rebuilding the economy, the infrastructure. And, you know, most people didn't know the difference between astronomy and astrophysics. There was a very small group, less than 10 people, at the Urania Observatory, which is located very near the center of the city, but less light. We could actually see things. We had a 30-centimeter telescope, and I linked up with that at age 15. And from there, it was a straight line from Urania to the Hubble Space Telescope, in which in that project I spent like 30 years of my career. And of course, today there is more than a small, less than 10 people astronomy group in Vienna. The Austrian Space Forum is several hundred members and is doing worldwide coordination, is involved in it, doing science on a more global scale. So science is what unites us all. Science is why we are in this room all together. And so let me talk about science for a minute. We tend to think that science is this divine spark which God planted in our brains and which separates us from the other living entities on this planet. At the risk of disappointing you, I have to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. We all know what happens when you open the door of the car and the dog gets out. You will immediately survey the environment, check out, see what there is. The biologists call that exploratory behavior. And the criteria that the dog, not consciously, driven by instinct, applies to the search is sustenance, shelter, and if the season is right, mates. So we are doing this exploratory behavior is also in all of us. And it's the root of doing science. Of course, we have done before, we have institutionalized, we have developed procedures and on, but it's basically exploratory behavior. And it's best exemplified with this silly movie that we have all wasted our time on called The Martian. Because when the scientist found himself stranded on Mars, what did he not do? Say, fantastic, I can do 2 months, 60 sols of time. I can do cut-rate science. I have no competition. Fantastic. What he tried to do was save his sorry ass and go back to the cave, to his companions. And he succeeded in a very unlikely manner. But that exemplifies what it's all about. Search for sustenance, for shelter, for mates, and go back to the cave to tell your tribe. So it's all about the species. It's all about evolution. And yes, it's important to go back. This is why we write scientific publications. We have to let other representatives of the species know what to best do. So, of course, as I said, we have done better than the dog, but only for about 500 years. Before that, except for a few ancient Greeks and a few ancient Romans, it was not science the way we consider it now. 500 years in the Cinquecento, real science started slowly at first. Not a lot of progress was made, and in fact, the presentation language of science, which was Latin, was for a long time much more complicated than the scientific content that it was describing. And that continued on well into the 17th century. At that point, science accelerated, became a bit more intricate. Also, the sibling of science, technology, evolved, but all the products were easy to understand, to visualize, and to comprehend. Like, for instance, a steam locomotive or a pendulum clock, for that matter. You look at it, and after a while, you know why it works, how it works, and you can even fix it. Even I can fix it. So, as I said, this continued on until.
It's a comment.
It's annoyed. So this continued on until well into the 19th century, when we discovered the atoms. For a while, we tried to visualize atoms as miniature solar systems with the electrons zipping around the nucleus like planets around the star. But that soon broke down. That couldn't explain everything that we found and observed when we examined atoms more closely. So out goes the visualization, out goes part of the comprehension. And in fact, it all got lost when we discovered relativity and quantum physics. With relativity, yeah, well, we have all done this, flashing lights and mirrors on moving trains and bouncing balls in an accelerated elevator and all that. But we know that this doesn't describe relativity in its fullness, and you need to do a lot of math to understand it. And with quantum physics, it's totally impossible. This year's Nobel Prize was awarded for research into the tunneling effect. Now, there isn't an electron bursting through the Coulomb wall and reappearing on the other side. It gets instantiated on the other side. Now, what does that mean? It means that we cannot visualize, we cannot comprehend with what's going on. And as the saying goes, don't try to comprehend, just calculate. And the calculations seem to be all right because things that are based on quantum physics seem to work, like our cell phones. The next thing that happened was big science. This big science project was the Manhattan Project so large that there wasn't a single person who understood all the details. And the real problem was to develop a system which made it possible for all these individuals and entities to work towards a common goal, called the management system. Space travel, space flight needs management systems, and sometimes it breaks down, and if that happens, shuttles fall out of the sky, and telescope mirrors get polished to their own configuration. I know all about this. Between the impossibility of comprehending some of the aspects of science and big science, the inability of individuals to understand all the details of a project, like again, cell phones. There isn't a single person on this planet who understands everything about this cell phone. All the different capabilities, GPS, phone, Bluetooth, and on and on and on, plus the associated software. So this is a revolutionary process which leads to compartmentalization, and it means that the individual scientist understands less and less of the total system and more about a small, tiny thing. There will be another revolution, and that's upon us beginning right now, and it will be upon you in 10 or 20 years from now, and that's artificial intelligence. Now, we're already using it, and it's beautiful. With my asteroid work, it's a combination of astronomy and geology and space science and operations and United Nations and diplomacy and geopolitics and economy. And I don't have a library because I'm retired. So I asked my AI assistant, give me relevant information, publications on a geological problem. And it pops up, and in most cases it's clickable and it appears on the screen. Perfect. Some people take it too far and write their publications using chatbots. And if you submit a manuscript to Elsevier Acta Astronautica, which we did recently, there is a box that you have to click which says no part of this paper, this manuscript, has been generated by AI. And you have to tell them that this is the case. They let you do the literature search, yes, but the actual authorship has to be human. But that's an intermediate step. It's going to go on. The next step is the AI will not only find the papers, it will draw conclusions from the papers. And it will do it well, fast. It will do it better and faster than humans can do it. I still remember the discussions in the 60s and 70s when people were wondering whether it was ever going to be possible for a computer to beat a grandmaster in chess. For me, it was clear that this was going to happen. For many people, it was not clear because, you know, for playing chess, it's not just the technical knowledge. You also need this intuition and this strategic talent and whatever that the machine could never display. Well, along came Deep Blue and beat the pants off of the great chess master. So the next step was the game of Go, because Deep Blue had tens of thousands of matches stored in the memory and always took the most appropriate one for the next move. Now, for the game of Go, you cannot do that. There are infinite combinations. And Google AlphaGo was not given examples of how to play Go. It was told the rules, and then it started to play itself against itself several million times. It took it 4 hours to do that, and then it was better than the ruling world champion. And what did the ruling world champion do when he found out that he was getting beaten consistently by a bunch of transistors? He resigned. He said, it doesn't make sense any longer. Now, if we scientists find out that we cannot compete with a machine doing science, when we find out that everything we try to do, a machine can do faster and better, what are we going to do? Are we continue to do our piss poor science compared to the science of the machine? Or are we going to resign? You know, there might be a situation when the Douglas Adams famous answer to a question that everybody forgot, 42, we might be able to know the question, but we might not be able to comprehend it, to understand it, because it was generated by a machine with capabilities that surpassed ours. So with that encouraging thought, I'll take my prize. I wish you good luck.
Of course, there are, thank you, ground support. Is a buffet in the kitchen, okay, to which I invite you now. And if you want a few words.
First,
Okay. First,
Media first.
first, video first.
Something. Get rid of this thingy and have you three gentlemen with the prize.
Okay.
That's just from the audience.
And then
The
of
buffet
course,
is still open.
yeah.
You can go ahead.
To make it more formal, I'm buttoning my jacket.
Yeah.
I never do.
Big prize.
Ik heb ik nog voor een goed stukje.
Ah, okay.
Pretty long, sorry. Okay. Are you ready?
Ready or not?
You're ready or not? Here it goes. And this way down.
Flash on.
Okay, you're very pretty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
We get the lighting.
Ich muss bestellen, dass es schon
Ja.
I should record speech.
It is recorded.
It is. Yeah, it is.
It is. Also, this is recorded. And this is still recorded. Maybe you also hear them.
Yeah, but it's good.
And now we have reached the end of the live stream. Goodbye.
You were here.
Oh, wow.
No, because it starts for the same as model.